Welcome back to another Human First AI Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Montague. My guest this week is Jantsch from Duct Marketing. We have the man, the myth, the legend. John goes back about 30 plus years in marketing, and from Kansas City as well here. So I have read several of his books. We've been on multiple podcasts together, and I'm so excited to talk to you again. John, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. Good to see you.
Yeah, ducttapemarketing.com is the website. Outsource CMO services, but you have all kinds of books and programs and everything. You're doing this for real. Public speaking, multiple best-selling books, over 150,000 copies, including Duct Tape Marketing. And I think we should start there because this is the AI marketing podcast. And I feel like duct tape and AI could not be further apart on the spectrum. How are you seeing things these days?
Yeah, I think it probably goes to your human first, theme, quite frankly. I mean, the AI is really going to be the plumbing. It's going to be a lot of what runs a lot of the behind the scenes technical things. But I think we're always going to need that sort of simple, elegant leadership. That's how, a lot of people think of duct tape. They think of, slap it on, sloppy fix. And to me, it's really much more elegant. It's simple, effective, affordable, but it's a really elegant fix for a lot of people. And so I think it actually works well because I think that's, in a lot of ways, that's what's going to be left, as AI democratizes IQ, right? I mean, every single one of us is going to have all the IQ we can handle, in our business. Then right. What I think EQ is actually going to become the real differentiator. The people that are able to lead with context, able to lead with strategy, able to actually, put that human touch into what is going to, now be seen as a very AI-driven world. I think those are the ones that are going to win.
Yeah, I also think there's something sort of timeless about duct tape and the stickiness and stuff too, right? When I think of AI, I think of a very ephemeral, it comes and goes, it's nebulous. And right. When I think of duct tape, it's like, this is real, this is gritty, this is doing the hard work, the hand-to-hand combat that you need to build a business and build.
Well, and I think there is it's funny. One of the trends that's going on is there's a real turn back to nostalgic things. And I think a lot of that's being driven by just what you described. And so, there's a lot of fond, nostalgic, thoughts about this idea of duct tape. It's really why the name worked so well, when I decided to kind of go all in on it.
Yeah, it's been a great metaphor for 39 years, so I don't think duct tape is going anywhere anytime soon. But I did want to ask you a little bit about the family business and stuff, because I worked with my father for a long time, 15 years, and I think that is kind of the human side of stuff too, as we see things evolving and your business evolving over the years. Where do you see it going? And I'm assuming we're both on the same side, which is that there's certain magic, especially in family relationships, that are timeless, and it doesn't matter what the tactic is, but also just in marketing and sales themselves, that I think no matter what kind of tool or thing you wrap around it, there's something special outside of those technical things, right?
Yeah. So for context, my daughter started working for me, my firm, 13 years ago, and really kind of came in as, hey, do you need any interns, Dad? And because she really didn't have a clear kind of career path at that time. She's very talented, very hard worker, very dedicated. That's another element you get out of the family thing typically, as I'd like to think she cares more about the legacy, maybe than somebody who's cashing a paycheck would. She has, kind of skyrocketed up, if you will, through the organization by bringing a lot of structure to us, and really complimented me quite well, because I'm your typical sort of idea guy, and she's really more of a structure person, and so she really built a lot of structure for us. And recently, I actually stepped out of the CEO role to do much more of a innovation role, which means I can do anything I want, is what it amounts to. And she's ultimately running the company now. So that's been a lot of fun. I know that there's some people are like, gosh, is there family dynamics that make this tough? And I feel like we probably had the right relationship. It doesn't work for everybody. It's really worked for us, and the company's better off for it. And she, like I said, she's very dedicated to the legacy. She understands. Even though we call this duct tape marketing, we tried to build a company, it was really a lot about my personal brand. And so to have somebody that you can fully trust with that has been great.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, really special. So congratulations to both of you. And
Thank you.
The way I always described it is you always have conflicts with your boss, but I feel like when it's your father, any buttons they know how to push, they've been pushing them your whole life. So you're kind of used to it. And
no, it's the other way around. Parents don't push buttons, the kids do.
Okay, mutual. We know where each other's buttons are. And so like we're gonna get past those, and we've kind of become immune to them a little bit, I think, for me. So let me ask you the hard question here then. Why we're all here is, how can we leverage AI in a way that is consistent with the duct tape marketing system and in a way that creates stickiness versus this sort of unsticky, loose version of what I think like AI robots are, which is they're just disappearing.
So to me, what it really does is it actually enhances what we're doing. I mean, there's no question it is an amazing assistant. It is not a replacement for what it is that we do, or for not all of it. Now I think instead of, we work with a lot of agencies, and what we're really trying to tell them is you need managers, not doers. And I think that's, you look at an org chart today. I saw somebody on LinkedIn posted this, and they had some key roles, and then they had AI agents under those roles on the org chart. And I think that's what's really going to be happening. I don't think that we're at a point where we can just say, let AI do everything, and we'll just sit back and customer won't care. They'll have a great experience, because it's certainly not true today. AI can't write original content without a ton of training and a ton of guidance. I certainly think that we're not quite at the point where somebody's going to say, sure, I'll just let AI go out and make all my purchases and, talk to all my customers. And, because I think what we have to do, and frankly, this is true. I mean, I started my business before we had the internet, right? And so websites and email and social media, even, those gave people more access. Those gave people the ability to go on a website and schedule an appointment, without talking to a human being. Those are things that people want to do, but they don't want to do everything. They want to still have relationships with people. They want to be able to do transactions or do business with people they trust. And so those components, we can't think about replacing those components. We have to think about these tools enhancing, the buyer experience. I talk about all the time that, with all these changes and all this new technology, everybody's like, oh, marketing's changed so much. Well, fundamentally, what we're here to do as marketers has never changed. The thing that's really changed, and that I think we have to pay attention to, is how people buy, how people want to buy. That's probably changed more than anything today. And I think we just have to stay very plugged into that.
Yeah, I do feel like this is a little bit of a shift, though. Do you agree that I think... Yeah. Where before, like, everything else was speeding up what was already happening. And this feels like a bigger shift of like something different is happening this time. It is definitely an acceleration, but it feels like there's a different sort of process. And I like the way you think about it. Like, as a manager, you need to manage the AI. We were having to use the tool. So we still needed to hire the intern or the junior level marketer to post the social media posts, even though we could kind of write them and generate it. And we had to publish, daily or hourly in some cases on social media from when you started, where you could write a book once a year or something and publish stuff. So I felt like that was all faster, but now it's like, no, we have these agents that we actually need to move up to be consultants. We need to move up in our manager thinking, because so much time has been saved now that it changes the game for me. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no question that, and that's what I've been telling people all along is, this is a tool that can either replace people or elevate them. And I think that that's how people need to be looking at it. But there's no question this shift is not just, oh, look, we have a new tool or we have a new way to do things. This is a fundamental shift. I've seen people, it's kind of cliche to say, but this is like the industrial age, coming and changing how people farmed, and this is like the automobile changing, how transportation, happened. This is a change that is that big. But I also think that right now we're still in the hype stage of it. And the like potential, like here's what they're going to do, all of that's kind of still out there, that people are talking about. At some point, we're not even going to talk about AI anymore because it's just going to be baked into everything that we do in every process. So, this is a big change, but change is something that, we experience every year, quite frankly. And so it's just really a matter of how do we adjust to this change and make it work to do the things that we've always done in businesses. And so, like with all of those changes, I'm sure blacksmiths, when I had a lot less business, when people stopped riding horses to work. So there's definitely going to be some dramatic changes in the industry and in hiring and frankly in education, all the way from, high school and college level of training. I think that's going to change dramatically over the next decade as we prepare people for a whole different world.
Yeah, the types of knowledge and the types of thinking I think you need to know going forward are going to change.
Well, it's kind of ironic is, where there's going to be huge demand? You either become an AI prompt engineer, whatever the fancy title is people want to call it, or become an electrician or a plumber, because I don't think AI is going to actually replace those jobs anytime too soon. They may be using AI
robot
glasses.
Repair would be great.
Yeah,
and,
you may be using AI glasses, to figure out how to, fix the heater, but they're still going to be using their hands on wrenches. And I think that you're going to see an upswing in people going into the trades, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think so too. The other shift, though, that I wanted to ask you about is the other way, the upskilling. Like, I think we're going to need more strategic thinking. And I'm not sure, especially small businesses, but even large businesses have really got their hand around what an AI strategy looks like. And I know you were kind of moving this way. So I do think some things are accelerating. Like you were already talking about outsourced CMO services and stuff. And it's like, okay, well, maybe if the robots are running a lot of the day-to-day activities, maybe we just need somebody to help us think strategically about this or design the plan, and then we can run the plan from here. Or maybe we don't have the traditional workforce anymore of like, multi-levels and we, 8 interns and 3 junior staffers and all that kind of stuff looking like. So can you tell me a little bit about how you're thinking strategically and maybe organizational design these days?
You're spot on. I think it is going to be much more of a management, of strategy. We've actually started talking, when we talk about fractional CMOs, I think some people have an idea of what that is, but the problem that a fractional CMO solves for the small to mid-sized business is bringing marketing leadership. We've actually started talking about it as what we're selling is marketing leadership as a service. So we're actually going into organizations, building the strategy, fixing the foundation. That's stuff that's got to be done because it's way broken. And then actually helping them build the system and the organization and the structure, whether it's AI or how much AI is in there or not. So that's how we've changed our consulting. And instead of coming in and saying, oh, we're going to produce all your content now or all your social media posts, we're going to produce the system. We're going to produce the processes. We're going to maybe level up your people or help you hire the people that are the right for that. And I think that's how our shift as a marketing consulting, role is going to change dramatically with the folks that we work with.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And I wanted to ask you one just about the books. This might be a little bit of a sidebar, but you've written some very successful books, and that was a key part of your career. And now I feel like anybody can write a book. You can have a book up on Amazon by the time this, podcast comes out tomorrow or something. And so I do think that great books will still exist and still find their way to kind of be viral and messages hit at the right time and right things. But with so much noise and in the system and stuff, how do you, specifically books, but how do you see the tactics and stuff changing?
Well, one of the things that I've been talking about is, information. Nobody needs more information. Nobody needs more content. And so it's always going to be about those companies that can actually make sense of that content, make sense of that noise, put it in context. And so it's a different skill set, I think, than just producing more content. The other component of it is I think we're a long way away from a lot of industries, not having a human relationship involved in a transaction at some point. More and more, I talked early on about the idea that the buyer's journey has changed dramatically. More and more, it used to be for a $29 transaction, but now $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 transaction, people are actually doing it's all DIY. I can do all the research myself. I can make a decision. Maybe I actually need to go, or maybe I just click a link, and I think we're going to see more and more of that. But I think that the companies that are going to win are the ones that realize, hey, we have a brand that is going to be meaningful and mean something to somebody, and how can we actually make that an important part of our marketing, because people can find all the information they want, and so it's not really going to be a matter of saying we just need to do more of the same thing.
Yeah, that's why I think the strategy is interesting, because it really depends on your industry. There have been a lot of knowledge-based companies like the book industry and stuff where, in my experience, the last 15 years in sales training, is there's some things that are just expensive, difficult, like heavy, hard to figure out. You got to have buying consensus or enterprise sales. Like AI can help you, whatever, find the best replacement part for your machine or something. But if you're talking about getting an enterprise organization to change their software system or something, that's going to require collaboration between departments, building consensus, like really confusing things. And we're talking about multi-million-dollar decisions. Those are different types of things where I think the same thing goes for marketing. I think we've known for a long time that there's different stuff. You're selling toilet paper. It's a race to the bottom. It's pretty much cheapest and a few simple factors you're doing out there. But when you're trying to build a brand that stands for something, or a luxury brand, that's a different problem, right?
Well, and I think that those companies, even at the $1 million lots at stake, what's happening though is you're seeing the buyer is still doing a lot of self-research, because again, you talk about books. I can go out and say, I don't want to read duct tape marketing. AI, tell me everything I need to know in that book. And I think we sometimes underestimate how much the buyer is actually using AI as well as the seller. So I think that the getting on that short list is really the difference of a brand, a strong brand, a trusted brand, as opposed to just somebody who's putting out more content so that they get found.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other like big shifts or strategies and stuff that you've kind of been seeing in your world that you think maybe most people haven't realized yet?
Well, it's harder. We don't really do a lot of work, say e-commerce brands and, folks that are just selling lots of widgets, but certainly in the professional services, even the home services businesses that we work with, finding ways to create that human connection to supplement what you're doing with your marketing with, as much human connection as possible. And doing things that don't automate, doing things that maybe don't scale. To me, it's gotten really easy. We've gotten pretty lazy, quite frankly, the last 5-10 years. If you ran ads, you figured out the SEO game, you had a lot of people come to your door pretty inexpensively. Well, a lot of that's going away. And so the companies that now can say, okay, we can't send out, 10,000 emails and, hope we get this return. What can we do differently? And I think it really is going to be a return to some of the kind of old school, spend more time on fewer people than and build a brand of trust than it is going to be on, what are all the things that we can automate so we can scale.
I love that. That's definitely where I'm going with the human first concept. Is I think we have to go back to the skills of like finding relationships. People follow you because they know you and they want to have they trust your opinion, not because they're looking for more content to follow on X or something. Like you said, nobody needs more of that. And the people have already taken all of that space, and AI is going to take even more of it and drown out that noise. So I think, for me at least, I hope that we have finally chased that squirrel like as far as it will go, and people are going to have to say like, okay, no, there's no more room for more spam. Like the AI spam blockers are going to be better than the spam creators. So we finally have to go back to this real value-based marketing, relationship-based stuff that means something to a human, not to an algorithm or a search result or a,
and I from a content standpoint, we've certainly, the days of writing a 500 word how-to, article, are gone. That's really a total waste of time. And so, we have to think in terms of, what experience can we demonstrate? What counterpoint of view can we, really, find a tribe that has that, same belief? How do we use our clients, case success studies to demonstrate that we're not just talking about this stuff, we actually do it. Those are, I think that from a content standpoint, that's the new bar, as opposed to just putting out more stuff.
Which is great. I mean, I'm really excited about that, and I hope that is the case. But as you look further out, how do you think it all plays out? What does marketing look like maybe at least 5 years from now, after AI kind of shakes out, or we all realize? I don't think the majority of businesses have realized that like SEO and the content is dead, and that the search engine results are dying fast behind it. And
I think it's sometimes hard to predict because, quite frankly, marketers aren't driving it all. The buyer and what their behavior and what they want to do and what they think is real or fake, is really driving a lot. And quite frankly, I mean, you've been around a while too. You see this all, what's working one day won't be working the next day. So I think it's the companies that stay as close as possible to their core clients, to really understand what they want, understand what they don't want, understand what they like about AI, because there are some things to like, but there's certainly some ways that it's being abused by people in a way that people are going to be turned off. I mean, one example I love to pick on is everybody's got the AI bot on their website. Well, have you ever gotten the answer you wanted from that thing? Right? I mean, it's like they've trained it with a set of 5 answers. And if you're outside of that, it's just going to be a frustrating experience. Well, that's not a great use of AI. And so, I think that when people who pay attention to things that create a positive experience, and they pay attention to things that are creating friction, and they adjust accordingly, I think that's really how we have. That's the human element. That's the emotional intelligence that I think we as marketers need to bring.
And when you look further out, if we go like 15, 30 years in the future, what's your best prediction for how it all shakes out? Do you think we're in like universal basic income? Humans are on the beach, and what, everything we need is provided by a super intelligence, or what? And again, this is just fun. Put your tinfoil hat on. Like,
I mean, I'm not that great at that. I'm terrible at like what's next. What I do is I look at what's here and say, how can I use this to make a better experience? That's always been kind of my shtick. But if you want to go out to the future, I mean, certainly access to information is going to, I don't know if it's going to be device or if it's just going to be, the glasses. And, so I think, I don't think that
in your skull now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we're going to have to. It's interesting, but you think about school, what we learned in school, you and I mean, it's sure it's changing some of the kids that are in school today, but do they need to know any of that? I don't think they do, quite frankly, because they'll be able to access it and put it in context and put it in, in comparative, where they need it and how they need it. So, that I think that's going to change, everything about, certainly the education system. I wouldn't be shocked if the structure of universities as we see them today is completely gone, because it's going to take a while, because society has it ingrained as my child's going to an Ivy League school. And there will be, some of those jobs left, but I think a great deal of people will come out and say, do I need $500,000 worth of debt to try to figure out what I want to do in life? Or can I just start doing it?
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually hope it does, because I think the system's been broken for a long time.
Well, it was created for a different era and a different purpose.
Right. When we needed humans to be robots, to be machines. I actually wrote this book, Playful Humans, about exactly that. The school system, we needed humans to do the job of working on a line and following instructions and knowing knowledge. And we don't need that now. But also, I never felt like, for me, it taught the skills that I actually needed, like creative problem solving and listening. How to pay your taxes and things like that. Like, okay, sure, I know how to do advanced calculus, but how does that help me, learn how to run a budget or something? Like, it wasn't the actual application of the skills that I needed so much. And I do think some of that has changed, but you're right. I don't know how much of the knowledge and things we're really going to need. It's going to be a lot more, I think, soft skills and creative stuff.
100%. 100%. That's
Do you have a favorite sci-fi movie? If you had to pick a utopia, which
you told me you were going to ask me that question, and I'm not a big sci-fi consumer, so I'm gonna go like a lame answer and say Star Wars or something. I don't know.
Okay, I mean, I think my answer has been Star Trek Next Generation. I thought it was a cool, like, peaceful utopian future. If I had to pick one, I would go there. Minority Report and stuff like that, where advertisements are flipping up based on our retinal scans and thumbprints and stuff.
Well, I think we're going to see more and more in that, but quite frankly, I think the world's going to overheat and we're going to blow each other up. So,
Well, I was going to say, I think we're going to have to move past that pretty fast. I think you said a long time. It took 10 years for phone books to go away, but that's not a long time in the grand scheme of humanity. And I think that we're showing that it's going faster and faster. So ChatGPT became one of the top companies and most valuable companies in the world in less than 2 years, where that would take decades before. So I kind of hope that we're going to see a lot of AI spam for a couple of years, and then we're all going to go, look, we can't do this anymore. We can't live as humans, or we're going to create AI to block those ads and stuff. And I think that's a pretty rapid progression too, just like we saw with LinkedIn. I always make fun of the comment spam of like, LinkedIn won't let us put links in the post, so let's put them in the first comment. Well, it doesn't take very long for the LinkedIn algorithm to learn that if you put a link in the first comment, we're going to block that post too. It's going to catch up. So I think those cycles, I think, are doomed. They're not going to make it much longer.
Marketers ruin everything.
Salespeople and marketers, especially traditional stereotypes, do not do ourselves any favor. But I think this is finally the chance for people to lean into it and go, you know what? Let's figure out how to be good professional marketers and professional salespeople that know how to help people, because the AI right now is like a teenager, or an intern. It's pretty dumb. It's making bad mistakes, and it's doing what you think you would do if you watched movies about sales and marketing, not what you actually do as a professional, experienced marketer.
I mean, we're teaching a lot of people to use it, but again, use it the right way. And I think that's going to be one of the keys, at least. There are a lot of use cases. It makes a ton of sense, but I think the idea of, we can get rid of, I mean, I've seen people literally saying this. I built a $10 million company with 2 people in AI. It's like, okay.
It's possible, but you still have to have the idea. So one of the things I was saying, I was talking to Park Hill South here in Kansas City last week, and I said, in a world where you can make anything, what's the hardest question? Like, what are you gonna make? Like, we still need the humans to decide, what is this business? Where is the value? Like, how am I going to tell the story and build an audience for it. And why would anybody want to buy this, project, even if you can with two people and an AI make a software program? What software program? You can write any book you want to write. What are you going to write? I think that's a more fun question.
Well, I think, and I really think that one of the keys is, one of the things that AI is going to do is it's going to make us all look the same. And so, companies that can figure out how to look different, are really going to be the ones I think that win.
Love it. I think that's the mic drop moment. John, thanks for being on the show. How can you help us, or how can we help you?
Well, if listeners want to find out what we've been doing and what we're sharing, have been for decades, it's just ducttapemarketing.com, and that's DUCTTAPE marketing.com.
Yeah, Duct with a T, not a K, people.
I do own that one too, so it'll get you the same place.
Of course you do. That's awesome. Avenue9.com is the website for human first AI marketing, helping people do high volume content marketing with the human first approach. So I can interview you, your company founder, your best client, your top salesperson, and tell your story better and faster than you've ever done before. I would love to talk about it. Go to avenue9.com. And until then, keep going. Have fun with it, everybody. Bye.